Agenda questions. Please limit your questions at this time to resolutions under new business on this agenda. As a matter of fairness, you are asked to limit your questions to no more than one and your remarks to no longer than 3 minutes. If you are here representing a group, please identify yourself, the group, and your position in the group. If you are here as an individual, please give us your name and address. This section of public participation will be limited to 15 minutes. Please specify the resolution you are referring to in your question.
You want to go first? Okay, Evelyn Slockbauer, 43 Thunderhead Place. Item P and Q, so the corrective plan for the Department of Agriculture. What were the findings that are being addressed and what is the corrective action plan?
Sure.
For the Department of Agriculture, there was a review that was done by the department on the food service operations, both in the cafeteria itself as well as the administrative end of things also. There were a couple of findings. They both had to do with some of the administration as well as some of the things in the cafeteria. All the findings were addressed. They came and they viewed one school, Lenape Middle School, on one day. A few days later, on Wednesday, they came and reviewed Rampart Ridge Middle School, and by the time they were at Rampart Ridge, a lot of things that they saw had already been addressed and corrected. So happy to say that they came through. There were a couple findings, but everything was easily corrected.
Okay, so basically those 2 schools then?
Yeah, they selected those 2 schools for the review.
Okay, and then the contract for Board Connect with the board meeting agenda and minute software. Can you describe what that service is going to provide as far as a little bit of detail?
It's totally and completely up to you. I can certainly do it.
For Board Connect, what the intent for that is to make a more efficient way of creating the board agenda, as well as a more efficient way of sharing that publicly, both before and after the meeting. Prior to with the agenda, as well as afterwards when the minutes are created, being able to post to the website, potentially get to the point where it's interactive too, where you can see some of the attachments that are being referenced.
Okay, that was my question, is will you be able to attach the documents that are said they're attached? Yes. Okay.
You meant after they've been approved.
That's correct.
Yes.
That's correct.
Yes, I thank you, Peter.
He said the minutes, not the agenda. He said it would be attached to the minutes. I heard you.
The attachments won't be attached to the agenda?
Typically, you don't really provide attachments prior to. That's what we found with a lot of boards. They'll do it afterwards. It's kind of mix and match. And part of the reason for that is, let's take a policy, for example. Policies have 2 readings, right? If we provide the policy out there, unless we're going to draft stamp every document that we have, if the board decides to make changes in action right now, then what could be out there potentially is something that has
No,
to
I understand those, but things that are like reference materials, like we're going to be referencing the audit report today, that could theoretically just be an attachment to the agenda.
That's public already.
Yeah.
It is, yes, those types of things, definitely.
Yeah, right, basically just the reference items.
Yes.
Those are the types of
Yes,
things, yeah.
yes.
Where there's deliberative action, or there's a decision to be made, then maybe you hold those back, and obviously personnel action stuff, you hold those back.
I think some of the ultimate decisions will probably be a little subjective, right, depending on what it is it's referring to and what's going on and what remains more.
But at the end of the day, this software service can provide help to us in getting that kind of information out, and then we have to figure out on a policy basis, you know, things that are going to be there.
I'd like the committee to be able to tell me, what do you want? Do you want it to sit tight? Do you want it to be draft first?
Right.
Do you want it to be available on request? I'd like to take my guidance from all of you.
I prefer interactions with Kagan.
Yeah, and I think with the policies too, you have 2 readings, right? So it's remaining in a draft format anyway for another 2 weeks until the board fully puts it into action.
That
So
goes into deliberative items.
I think because we've not done this before, Slackbar, we'll have to determine how we're going to do it. What I can tell you is that I think that there'll be more than you have had, the public meeting in the past, and that's the reason that we're going to try this out and see how it works for us. We're hoping well.
Great.
I think still if a person in the community wants to see a copy of it, they can request.
Of course,
a copy of it.
always, and we've done that. In fact, I've given
Yes.
Mrs.
Right.
Slackbar policies
Yes.
and those kind of things in the past,
Right.
just to check out even
Yeah.
before it's final.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I gotta wait for the second public portion.
Okay,
Good.
all right, I just wanted to make sure.
I can't reference anything on
We'll
this.
shut you out, okay. Dr. Schoen, do you have anything for us this evening?
Yes, I do. Two things this evening, both equally important. The first is a very happy holidays and a very happy new year to everyone sitting with us tonight, but also to the board members here. I do want to say that. And I would like to take a moment, if I could, during my superintendent's report tonight, to acknowledge John Denise. John has served on the board since 2015, so a total of 3 years with us. He's been on the Executive Planning Committee, Finance and Facilities, Policy, Technology, Community Relations, and he was also a liaison for the Bergen County School Boards. John, it has been my honor to work by your side. You have contributed a great deal to our district, up until including, a half hour ago, going through a whole bunch of regulations, which was something that I know was important to you to kind of fulfill before you stepped down. So I want to congratulate you and thank you for all your service to our district.
Thank you.
Thank you, and we also...
I have to add that he was the first liaison to the Mahwah Access for All.
Oh, you were the first liaison to the Mahwah Access to All.
And he was the second vice president this year.
I said executive committee, but I didn't delineate,
I
there was no
know.
subset.
Sorry.
No, you're right.
Second vice
So to the second vice president, we have a little gift for you, and if I may give you. Thank you. Bring your glasses
Would you have anything for us this evening?
I do.
Okay, well, we'll do that and then we'll board council. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. My report this evening, I had mentioned at the last meeting regarding the cell tower, just an update on that RFP process. We did have a pre-bid meeting last week, went very well, had a couple of vendors attend. We have that bid opening, or proposals due January 17th. So that process moving forward. Regarding the STEAM edition, we presented, or I should say Mr. Milliman and his engineer presented to the planning board on Monday evening, a courtesy review. It was very well received, got a great reaction from the planning board regards to that. Just a reminder that the next meeting, we're going to deviate a little bit from our regular Wednesday evenings. It's going to be a reorganization on Thursday, January 4th. So again, a slight deviation from what we normally do, but wanted to make note of that. And lastly, regarding the audit, this is our annual audit. As you'll see in the agenda, there was one audit recommendation for us to address by the auditors. Just want to read what our corrective action plan for that is. The district intends to transition the record keeping for the payroll agency account from the independent software is currently maintained on and incorporated into the already established accounting software for the district's major fund accounts. This software shall include the subsidiary ledger accounts and have the ability to produce the analysis which is recommended by the auditor. So again, I think it's something that we can easily incorporate and address that recommendation rather quickly. That's my report for this evening. And again, to echo Dr. Schoen, happy holidays and happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you. Mr. Fair?
I'll be very brief. I just wanted to highlight under new business, agenda item AA. We have Dottie Mann, who is one of our retired paraprofessionals. She's coming back as a para sub because she misses us that much. So I just want to welcome Dottie back to the district. That's it for me.
Thank you very much. My report this evening, I do, again, want to wish everyone happy holidays and happy and blessed New Year to everyone. And I also want to take this opportunity to say what a fabulous time I had last night at the winter concert. It was wonderful. The kids were great. The instructors, the musicianship, the teachers, everyone was fantastic last night, as always. So kudos to everyone. And then I'd also like to thank Mr. Denise for being my right-hand man when I was first elected. We were elected together. And my left-hand man. And you were behind the scenes, very steady, very sure, and I appreciate all the help that you gave me and that you've provided for the whole board. And you're a great asset, and you will be sorely missed.
Thanks so much. It was an honor being on the board.
Thank you. That's my report for this evening. Do we have any board committee reports? Yes, Mr. Gallo.
Just briefly on, just to echo what Kyle said, we met on Friday with the auditors to review the report. They patiently answered all our questions. And they're new this year to the district, so they had a couple of different perspectives, which strengthened our district. And the good news, of course, is other than this minor discrepancy in the payroll agency account, the audit was clean, and you can be assured that our district has all the proper financial controls in place. We also attended, Rick and I and Kim attended the planning board meeting on Monday regarding the STEAM building. And on negotiations, Rick and I met with Kyle and Dennis to begin reviewing the current contract with the supervisors and administrators, and we hope to begin face-to-face discussions with them in early January.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Oh, and of course, I have John, John, when I first got here, and even before I got here, John reached out immediately and was very supportive and provided excellent guidance on a new board member coming into this experience. And I want to thank him for all the support and guidance he gave me through that. And when I think you look back on all the goals that you had when you began, in terms of transparency, financial management, and public trust, regaining public trust with the board, I think on all three of those goal areas, you advanced our board and our district, and I thank you for that. And I thank you for your service to our community, and I thank you for your friendship.
Thanks so much. As far as all that goes, I mean, it was a group effort, so, you know, we were all involved in that, so. Yeah, we accomplished a lot in the 3 years I was here. You know, we started full-day kindergarten, did the technology initiative, started Parent Academy. We're now going to build a STEAM building that, you know, when you have the ribbon cutting ceremony, I hope you invite me back so I can attend that. So yeah, a lot of good things in a short amount of time, you know, so definitely.
Thank you.
Anyone else this evening?
There's policy.
Yes.
We have a whole list of policies for first reading on tonight's agenda. The first two are two new policies that are not mandated, but we felt they were necessary at this time. They are based on the New Jersey Conscientious Employee Protection Act. And then the remaining policies are in that 7,000 series that we did our review, and most of those basically are minor language changes with some updated terminology and citations.
Okay. You have any board member remarks, additional comments on reports or other non-agenda items?
I am excited by the fishing club. With that?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
and Wendy Campbell, I didn't think of her as a fisher person.
She's really good.
Really?
She's really good.
I cannot wait to see the catch. You know,
Maybe we'll
how
do
big
that
was
as
the
a show
fish
and
that you caught? Well, it was this big before it got away.
I think probably maybe a taxidermy course might be.
Oh, right.
That's coming next.
I was thinking more of the sushi thing.
Yeah,
So-
cooking.
You do both.
I'm thinking catch it and let it go.
Catch and release.
Sometimes you have to catch and eat.
So I'd like to thank John too for your service to the community. Like Mike said, it's always good to have new people and have a different perspective. You know, you sort of get stuck in a rut. For a long time, the elections were unopposed, and you know, there's no growth that happens when nobody steps up and wants to take their turn. Stepping up and taking your turn is, you know, certainly not easy. We all know there's no benefit to us sitting up here, that's for sure. So it's certainly appreciated, you know, by me, by the other members, I think, and certainly by our community. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Rick.
On Wednesday the 13th, I went to the J.K. Winter concert, which was always a lot of fun. Watching, you have the 4th and 5th grade chorus and band, and they all start up front, then some go sit down, and then these guys go sit down and these guys come up. And then it's like constantly, you know, watching all this, the motion and who's going where. I couldn't do it in a million years, so, you know, the instructors did a wonderful job. The kids looked like they were having a great time, and it's, you know, it's always a fun time of year to watch that stuff, so it was a fun event.
Thank you for attending that. Anyone else?
I attended the Rampo Ridge music concert. So it's a wonderful affair. It's amazing to see how many kids are actually involved in between chorus and orchestra and band. It's you know, my brother came as well, and we both went to the school. We had Mr. Singer, and when we were there, he barely had enough kids for a band. I mean, there was 10 kids who sang chorus. It was just amazing to see the amount of involvement. Very impressive. Along with that, a couple weeks ago, I went to the high school football. The fall sports awards. I'm focused more on football for now. But another also impressive was the amount of the educational side of it, with the amount of kids on honor roll, high honor roll. It's very impressive as well. So, and along with that, even though I've only been here a year, John, we go back, to kindergarten, first grade with the kids, and I'm sure our paths will cross again. But it's been a pleasure for me. I've been here to serve you. I wish you well.
Thank you very much.
Get some time back in your life.
You were my son's Cub Scout
Yeah.
master for so many years.
I'm sure we'll see each other again.
Rick said there are no benefits. I get a pad and a pencil every time.
See, I leave my pad and pencil here. I take the page I use and I leave the rest
No,
here.
I take the whole
Come
thing.
on.
It's really the people's pencil.
That's right.
I'll be returning all of them later this week.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Old business, we have a motion to move old business, please. Mr. Wendrikowitz, second by Mr. De Silva.
Mr. De Silva,
Yes.
Mr. Denise,
Yes.
Mr. Gallo,
Yes.
Mr. Kismarski,
Yes.
Ms. Conica,
Yes.
Mr. Wendrikowitz.
Yes.
And Ms. Marin.
Yes. Now I'd like to take new business, A through R. I have a motion to proceed. Mr. Wendrikowitz, second by Mr. Gallo. Any discussion on any of the items? Everyone's good to go on that? Okay, could you take roll call?
Mr. De Silva,
Yes.
Mr. Denise,
Yes.
Mr. Gallo,
Yes, except in 15A, I will be abstaining on check number 089012. 089012.
Mr. Kismarski,
Yes.
Ms. Conica,
Yes.
Mr. Wendrikowitz.
Yes.
And Ms. Marin.
Yes. Now let's take new business, A through AA. A motion to move on that, Mr. Wendrikowitz, second by Mr. Denise. Any discussions, comments on any of those items? Okay, could you take roll call, please?
Mr. De Silva,
Yes.
Mr. Denise,
Yes.
Mr. Gallo,
Yes.
Mr. Kismarski,
Yes.
Ms. Conica,
Yes.
Mr. Wendrikowitz.
Yes.
And Ms. Marin.
Yes. No public questions or comments. Note this section of public participation will be limited to 15 minutes.
Hello,
Hello.
happy Hanukkah,
Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas,
Thank you.
and Happy New Year. I was reading in the paper the other day, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity. It says that the U.S. is about to spend a small fortune on teaching science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM. The White House has promised $200 million a year for K through 12 computer science education. And several large tech firms have pledged another $300 million to the effort. Is this that you are about to have an almost unique building in New Jersey?
Maybe they can fund it.
Is it on your plate that you can contact somebody in the government or large corporations that can provide money and form a partnership, some teamwork. I mean, it would really be cool if you could walk into the new building and you could see Verizon, a Verizon logo, or a Stryker logo, and people would say, what's that? Oh, these are our partners. They've given us some money. Is that a wonderful opportunity? I mean, is this a potential gold mine maybe? I mean, how many times can a school board go in front of the government and say, we have a rare opportunity in the state of New Jersey called the STEAM building, you know? So I would really recommend that. That would really be a feather in your cap and a feather in Mahwah's cap. That's one.
Thank you very
Two,
much.
I spent a bit of time with a real estate agent up here on MacArthur Boulevard at Special Properties. And I said, does the town of Mahwah come to you and provide you with any information about the town so that you could perhaps promote the town when new people come in? You know, do you give the Mahwah Matters newsletter to anybody who walks in? Because to me, a realtor is like an ambassador of the town, always promoting the town. And they said, no, we don't do this at all. We don't want this. She said, the people who walk in here are very computer savvy. And they go to two websites, the Board of Education and the township website. Because your megaphone is that website. And when you have a megaphone, that's fantastic. Our borough council does not have a megaphone, which is one of their problems. But you have a megaphone. But you need a narrative. And when I first looked at your website about 3 months ago, I said, this needs help. Because I did not see a narrative. But I spoke to Michael on Monday when we were at the planning board meeting, and he said it's really been new and improved. So I got up this morning and said, new and improved, let's take a look. And it was. And I saw all the things that I saw here at the prior meeting, and it brings forth a lot of good things for the borough, for the Board of Education, BOE. So, you know, congratulations. I think it made a big improvement, but I still don't see a narrative, a story.
Sort of the overarching.
The overarching. There's all the components and all the drop downs and all that stuff, but where's the top? Where's the 40,000 foot level that that new man was going to look at when he's thinking about Mahwah as a community for him and his family? So I looked at the top public schools for 2016, and I said, well, Chatham, #1. So on page 2 here, you can see what Chatham does. And then I did Ramsey. And then I did Milburn.
You've been pretty busy then.
No, it's only 5 minutes. It's only
If you want
5
to give those
minutes.
to me, I can pass them out to everybody, so.
The trees are quaking.
So, we gotta give one to the, he's all by
I'll
himself
go
now.
down, I'll walk all the way down there.
Thank you. So, Chatham is very brief, very brief. And Milburn was very long, but I was very impressed with Milburn. But I'm trying to be constructive and helpful. My wife wishes I could do that at home, but I think you really need an overarching statement, not a slogan. You know, the Marines, you know, the few, the few, the proud, the Marines, that's a slogan. But less than a paragraph, something that somebody could look at right away and go, got it. With maybe a lot of backup. Now, maintenance on a website is not a sexy thing. No one's going to get promoted because they spend a lot of time with maintenance on a website. But to me, that's precious. That's your voice, you know? And I'm flabbergasted. If you look at the website for the planning board, under the township website, it tells you that they meet the second and fourth Monday of every month from 7:30 to 9:30, but they don't tell you where.
I think that's by design.
It's an undisclosed location with Dick Cheney, you know, like, where do they meet? So to me, that website is precious.
Yes, it
And
is.
it should be pluperfect. And it should not be necessary for anyone to drill down and play treasure hunt. No, there, I can find, yeah, there it is. But it's so easy to say, oh, it's on the website. It should be right there. If you go on the Upper Saddle River website, homepage, status of the e-route. They're going to spend $301,000 on legal fees. More than Mahwah.
Well, thank you very much for doing all this investigating.
But
Getting
I
this
do
in-
have,
Another hand.
Another.
well, I went to our website, because I'm representing 25,000 people.
Well, Brooke is here.
Well, I'm representing 12,500 people. And I went onto the website on the homepage, and I started to click on some of these choices, and I want to be helpful. But if you look at the first page, there's only 3 pages here. If you look at the first page, that's part of the home page. And then if you look at the second page, that's all the choices that you have. And if you look at the 2 items that I've circled, when you click on those 2 items, you get the third page, which says, oops, this page exists to tell you that it doesn't exist. So I go, well, maybe I have something wrong with my computer, I'm not using the right browser or something. But again, it's in that effort to be pluperfect.
At least it's there.
You know, to be and the one of the circle items is technology. So it's like, wait a minute, you know?
I thought you were circling the grammatical error.
No. No, that, I did not see the grammatical error.
Thanks for pointing that
So
out.
maybe, you know, a small point, it's not the biggest point, but then again, when you look at the website and you see something that's old or outdated, you immediately get, I immediately get turned off. You know, if it says, again, on the municipal township website, you go on there on the planning board, and right at the top it says that the June 13th meeting has been canceled. Wait a minute, it says June 13th, we're in December.
Yeah.
Didn't somebody take that off, you know? So these are small things.
Thank you very much.
One little last thing, because 15 minutes. 15 minutes. This is a wonderful part of the year. Gift giving, celebration. One of the nicest things about this season is gift giving. And everybody likes to get a gift. And everyone likes to open a gift. You could wrap up a rock in Christmas paper, and it's like, oh, I wonder what it is. But there's a lot of people, the elderly, that don't get to they never have the chance to open a gift. they don't have family nearby, maybe they have relatives in Florida or California or wherever, and they're in nursing homes, no one visits, no gift opening. And that to me really strikes at my heart, because everybody should be able to open a gift at this time of the year, be it for Hanukkah or for Christmas. I mean, we're all going to be sitting around and opening gifts. You're going to buy that car for your wife in the driveway. Maybe I said too much. But is there something that the BOE can do to make sure that everybody in Mahwah has a chance to open a gift, even if it's a pair of socks or a pair of gloves or something? You know, that your involvement with the community would be tighter? Maybe you do something like that now, I don't know.
There is an item that we do have. We have the holiday band. It was started 6 or 7 years ago
Yeah,
or so. So these are members of the Mahwah High School band, and I think sometimes 8th graders get involved as well.
yeah, whoever
And,
wants to participate.
these are just strictly volunteers. The band practices in people's homes. Mr. Bittner organizes the music, and I think, how many places did they go to this year? 6 or 8
I think it
nursing
was
homes?
6 this year.
Yeah, and there's like 25 kids involved. They used to practice in my home, so it was always a wonderful thing when I came home from work. There was everybody practicing, but this has been going on for a number of years, and the people who go to these things, like you said, their families are not nearby. The smiles that go on their faces, and you know, it's really marvelous, and the students have a great time, and the community that does attend has a great time.
Can you give everybody a gift from the Five Below store?
The Five Below store.
You know?
Maybe you might want to start something. I'll help you if you'd like to. We can start something.
Well, I'm not a member of the
Well, it wouldn't be,
Board of
it wouldn't be the Board of Education. It would be you starting a nonprofit organization of some sort, which would be fantastic.
Are there any nursing homes in Mahwah?
Yes.
Where?
There's one over.
Brandywine.
Yep, on Brandywine.
Now, is Brandywine for people, I think that's a younger person, isn't that?
No.
Age range. It's up there though.
All right, so I'm going to go to Brandywine tomorrow, because I live right there. And I'm going to say, hey, are there any people in this building who don't get a gift for Christmas to unwrap? Because, think of it, you're 90 years old, you've
It'd be a
been,
wonderful thing to do.
you know,
It really would.
you have all these memories of Christmas. Your sisters are 92 and 93, and they're in Boca Raton, and they're not coming up, you know?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
At the high school,
Let me
there's
know
the-
what you find out when you
There's the
do.
community problem-solving group at the high school. Perhaps you can write a letter to them, and this is a student-run organization too that, you know,
I mean, I would
maybe can
love to
solve this
see the
problem.
kids,
Mhm.
Yeah.
the high schoolers, go and say, you know, knock, knock on the door and say, hey, Santa Claus is here. He left you a gift. And the people go, what's this? You know, that's a Kodak moment. That's a Hallmark moment, you know?
Thank you.
So I'll send you an email
Yeah, let me know.
and see what
Thank you.
the people at Brandywine say. One more thing. Colombo, remember? One more
The only
thing.
thing.
At the council meetings, they always start off with some good news. A police officer has celebrated 25 years. They're naming the council chambers after the judge who did like 50 years here. But there's no record, no one takes a photograph. Is there some group, high school, the photography club, who could attend these sessions, that can go and take official photographs, and they could be they could be printed or disseminated somehow, maybe on the website? You know, because, you know, somebody gets sworn in as a council member or something, and there's
I think the town council would probably have to reach out and they might not want photographers. I know that they use their own cameras to take pictures, I've seen that on a number of
I
occasions.
just see relatives coming up.
But, yeah, that would be something I think you'd have to talk to them, because it's their meeting, we don't wanna infringe upon what they do.
Yeah, but there's
right now.
other things, like you said, the band and everything else like that, you know, all these things that are happening, and there's no record. You know?
I think the holiday band pictures are on the district website. I think somebody posted some of those.
Yep.
This is
I
the first I'm hearing of it.
Really?
Yeah, that's something, we should do a better job of.
Just take pictures of what's happening. You don't have to do anything more than just take a picture of what's
Yeah.
happening,
Yeah.
you know?
Put a caption.
It's I mean, if you look at Mr. Pascal, the principal of the high school, he literally updates the Twitter, the Instagram, the website every 7 minutes.
Yeah.
So I mean, I recognize that he can't take any more pictures. every game, there's an update.
The other day I came up and he was taking pictures of the kids with
Yeah,
the
every
Be Joyful
yes,
sign.
absolutely,
In front of
which is
the school.
wonderful.
It's great.
You know, every holiday concert. I mean, it's
Yeah.
Well, that's great for the, I'm just thinking, Mahwah has a high percentage of older folks, 65 and older. They don't know nothing. Does not exist. They don't drive at night.
Well, that's the Mahwah Access for All committee, would be someone else to reach out to.
You know.
I'll give you their information, because you might be able to partner with them.
All right, let me do Brandywine first.
Okay, all right. And on that note, though, I do want to also mention about the Secor family that suffered a terrible loss recently, the home fire. So I just want to make sure that I mention it here at this public forum, so that in case anyone's watching our videotape, they know that they are, you can graciously give them gift cards. I think that's the best thing to do, and I'm sure that they would be greatly appreciated.
It's also important to add that the Mahwah Education Association is doing a Jeans Day on Friday. You know, you can wear jeans and you can donate to the Secor family, knowing how generous they have been to our district. And that is so like the association to do when there is a tragedy, so we're pleased that that's going.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Okay, yes.
No, just wanted, as far as the STEAM plans and everything, I know Mr. Windrikowitz mentioned about not being able to go directly into the building, and I wasn't sure if there were any discussions between that presentation and now as far as what's actually gonna, are there gonna be any changes made to the inside so there is access through to Building 7, or?
Actually, there is, Mrs. Lockmeyer, if I may.
Yes, thank you.
There actually is, and we put up the diagram right on the corner, right outside of
Right
Ms.
at-
Rizzo's
Oh,
office.
okay.
It is a color diagram with a key, which clearly shows a corridor that is leading into Building 7 for student access.
Okay, great,
So we're
great,
good to
great.
go. So there were some changes.
Okay, thank you. Great. Oh, and there is a senior citizen performance of the plays and the musicals for the senior citizens every
Oh, yes.
fall
At the
and
high school.
spring.
Yes.
Yeah, so there are certain things, and Stacy Mendel is the person who does the volunteer stuff at the high school. You could also reach out to her to see if there are any students interested in volunteering to help your cause.
Okay, thank you.
And the other thing is, on seniors, it's hard to reach out to them. You know, I consider myself a 20th century technology person, but 21st century technology is all electronic, it's on people's devices. And senior citizens are like me, they're in the 20th century and they're not necessarily hooked up with all this stuff. And we have a tendency to just think of getting a message out through those type of mediums. I don't know how, you know, this is a good one for the community problem solving group to survey communities around the country and how they incorporate seniors into their overall community.
The seniors that I've spoken to rely upon the suburban newspaper. It's free. They get it every week. It looks like a real newspaper, and it has a lot of pages, you know, and it's like the Daily News or the New York Post, and they look in that, and that's their way of communicating. They don't, you know, you say Windows 10, they go, what?
Yep.
May I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Gallo, second by Ms. Conrad. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all. Happy holidays.